This is Blenheim Palace, home to the Dukes of Marlborough. Built between 1705 and 1722, it was commissioned for John Churchill, the first Duke of Marlborough, who was the son of Sir Winston Churchill. The Churchills started off as a minor gentry family. In 1678, John married Sarah Jennings, and then went on to become a soldier, rising the ranks under James II. However, when William Prince of Orange invaded in 1688 during the Glorious Revolution, John joined him. When the Prince of Orange became William III, he rewarded Churchill with the title the Earl of Marlborough. It was under the reign of Queen Anne that Churchill distinguished himself by his military triumphs during the War of Spanish Succession, and rewarded Churchill with the dukedom in 1702. And when he was victorious at the Battle of Blenheim in 1704, and granted Churchill the royal manor and honour of Woodstock, and a grateful nation was to build him a magnificent palace. The palace was to be named Blenheim after the battle, but nothing was put in writing regarding the construction budget or conditions. Perhaps Anne didn't realise how much this was going to cost. Sarah didn't want a house the size of Blenheim, and she would have preferred Christopher Wren to be the architect, but the Duke picked John Vanbrugh, the architect who designed Castle Howard. The Duke thought the house would cost around £40,000, but when Wren visited the site, he estimated about £100,000 for just the house, not including the park or the bridge. Vanbrugh varied his estimates from £54,000 to £287,000, a large sum for a house with a poor reward for the services that occasioned building it, he said. There were delays in building it, such as finding suitable stone, and Sarah argued with Vanbrugh on every detail. Sarah was left to oversee the works, while her husband spent a lot of time abroad. She became convinced that all architects were mad. Vanbrugh kept coming up with bigger and grander designs, and she was getting daily letters from her husband asking on how the house was progressing. He even sent her a letter asking her to taste the fruit on every tree, so that what is not good might be changed. The close friendship between Sarah and Queen Anne started to break down, and in 1711 the Queen dismissed the Duke and Sarah from all of their posts. The two women never spoke again, and the Duke and Sarah went to the continent to live for a while. The money for the house had dried up in 1710, and the crown money had stopped altogether by 1712. The crown had already paid out £240,000, and the house was still unfinished, with lots of outstanding bills. The Duke was sued by one unpaid worker. When George I took the throne in 1714, the Marlboroughs got back in royal favour, and in 1716 the Duke suffered a stroke in which he never fully recovered from. That same year the building work started again, with the Crown agreeing to pay 1/3 of the outstanding bills. To complete the works, the Duke spent £60,000 of his own money on the palace. The Duke died in 1722, and because his son had died before him, his daughter was able to become Duchess in her own right and pass the title on, and today we are on the 12th Duke. In 1874, the nephew of the 8th Duke was born in a room at Blenheim Palace. This was Winston Churchill, our two-time Prime Minister. A lot of estates like Blenheim were getting into financial difficulties by the end of the 19th century due to increasing taxes. One solution was to marry a wealthy American heiress. The American ladies wanted the titles, and the dukes wanted the dollars. This room here is the room that Winston Churchill was actually born in. The 9th Duke married Consuela Vanderbilt. The Vanderbilts were a wealthy railway tycoon family. The marriage wasn't a happy one, but her money helped save Blenheim for another generation, and the couple divorced in 1906 and were both later remarried. This is just the chapel we're in now, at the end of the tour. While the interiors of Blenheim you can see carvings by Grill and Gibbons, ceilings painted by James Thornhill and Louis Laguerre, and works of art by artists such as Van Dyck and Sargent, it's easy to overlook the garden and parkland. Henry Wise was the first landscape gardener at Blenheim, with major alterations being made later by Capability Brown, who worked there on and off for 10 years, starting in 1764. This is just the back of the house now, and this is the south lawn here. And finally, just a view into the Italian garden at Blenheim.